So many times you've heard me say in different ways, advertising, different things I get involved in, that Newport is the center of the universe. Last month, my son was in Cancun, Mexico, and he texted me and he said, a guy just came up to me, because he had on a Newport baseball cap. A guy just came up to me and said, are you from Newport, Arkansas? And John said, yeah, yes I am. He said, I have a picture of your dad on my phone. He was the gentleman that came here and started the old Midway Cafe, turned it into the Angry Possum. But that's a point of contention right there that I always said, no matter where you go, somebody knows somebody from Newport. I've been blessed in my life. I've been to about 33 countries over my life, and seemed like whenever I was at an Admiral's Club or sitting around somewhere, somebody said, Sound, you got an accent. You from Texas? No, I'm from Arkansas. Where? I said, well, it's a smaller town in northeast Arkansas, a town called Newport. Do you know, I swear it's the truth. I swear it's the truth. It's just one of the things that makes Newport, Arkansas so special. And a night like tonight just reiterates about what Newport's all about. We have had so many successful people go on and do such great things in the world. And tonight is no different. We have 4 new inductees, all worthy of being inducted. So tonight, sit back, enjoy the presentations of these new inductees. And I would like to ask the color guard to come in at this time. And now the national anthem will be shared with us by Jasmine Selvey.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the nights that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Luke Reynolds, the class of 2025, will now offer our invocation. Luke.
Lord in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for guiding everybody here safely, Lord. I pray that you'll lay your hand over us, Lord, and guide us through every decision that we make. I pray that you'll forgive us for our sins we failed you, Lord, and that we'll do as you will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. And the cheerleaders now will come and perform our Newport alma mater for us. Great job, great job. And the orange sheet you have in front of you there is an update on the Newport School District Charitable Foundation and what the money has been used for. But the number that I think is most impressive is that if you look in the last 15 years, $327,256.95. That's a lot of money. Let's have a round of applause for everybody who's been a part of that. As we all know, there are a lot of students that we have in our district that don't have the opportunities to go and do different things sometime. And without our charitable foundation and the money that we generate, they wouldn't have the opportunity to go out, do things, see things, experience things outside of Newport and Jackson County. So I would ask everyone who's capable tonight, before you leave, if you could get a sheet and make a donation to the charitable foundation, that would be a wonderful thing. And if anybody wants to match it, that $327,000 with a check, feel free to knock yourself out. Seriously, though, all money counts. Everything happens because of money for our kids. It's a wonderful thing we do. Just one of those other things that Newport does that other schools don't do. So think about that, and if you're capable, please consider a donation to the charitable foundation. I'd like to ask Josh Austin to come up. Josh, I can move this microphone just a little if you need it. He's going to do the Excellence in Education Award.
Thank you, John. If you didn't know, me and Mr. John Pennington played the same position in football. He was much better than I was. Right. Good evening. It's my great honor and privilege to present this award tonight to an educator whom I've admired both in and out of the classroom for nearly 40 years. You've been a model of excellence, consistency, and character throughout your career, and your influence continues to shape our school, our students, and our community in meaningful ways. You may not fully realize how much your positive example has impacted those around you, largely because of your humility. But your quiet leadership, your unwavering integrity, and your visible love for your family, our school, and the greater community have not gone unnoticed. You've brought a perfect balance of fun, discipline, school spirit, professionalism, and healthy competitiveness to our campus. These qualities have enriched the lives of both students and faculty day in and day out for decades. Though you would never take personal credit, always pointing to your faith as the foundation of your life's work, those of us who know you have seen firsthand how you have excelled in every role you've accepted. Your life is a powerful testament to what it means to walk in faith, serve with humility, and lead by example. Personally, I've been incredibly fortunate to experience your impact in multiple ways. As a student in your classroom, as an athlete under your coaching, as a colleague on the sidelines, and now as a fellow educator under your leadership. You even played a role in how I raised my son, serving as a real-life example of character, wise decision-making, and a lifelong learner. Each morning, you start your day with intentionality, quietly maintaining your bus. I'm going to quit the speech over there. I watch you every day when I get up in the morning and get to the bus yard. You walk around and you make sure that everything is perfectly safe for our students. And then after you do it, you go and you sit in your chair and you start praying. And then you leave there and you take care of our kids, and you come back to campus and you do the same thing, period in and period out. And it's not just a Monday thing or a Tuesday thing. I watch you do it every day. I've watched you do it for years. You did it from the time I was a little boy, and you do it now that I'm a man. I can't thank you enough for the example you've been for our community. And we'd like to honor Benny Reynolds with our Excellence in Education Award.
Say good evening. You know, it's hard to put into words what this moment means. Standing here as a father, trying to introduce someone who has become more than I ever dreamed, but exactly what I always knew she could be. I want to take you back for a moment. I remember when Kendra was just a little girl, a tomboy, through and through. I taught her how to play basketball in the yard. And let me tell you, she was determined to beat me from the start. At first, she couldn't get that basket to fall for nothing, but she kept practicing day after day. And sure enough, one afternoon, she beat me in the game of horse. I told her, Kendra, that's luck. But deep down, I knew the truth. She was getting good, almost too good, almost as good as me. I say almost. I also had the joy of coaching her in T-ball, where she'd be out there with her glove on, dusty from head to toe, always scrappy, always focused. That fire and the determination was there even then. But for all that toughness, Kendra has always had a tender heart. I remember when she was in elementary school and brought home her first A-. That little girl cried like it was the end of the world. I mean, really cried. So we had to sit her down and explain that an A-, Kendra, is still an A. But that's Kendra, always a perfectionist, always striving to give her very best. What makes this moment so powerful for me to remember that there was a time when Kendra was incredibly shy. She didn't talk much. She was quiet, observant, always thinking, but rarely speaking up. And to see her commanding rooms, leading teams, advising mayors, mentoring young women, it just leaves me in awe. But she found her voice, and she's using it not just for herself, but to lift others. From a country girl in rural Arkansas, Kendra has become an attorney, a strategic advisor, and a change maker. She founded Club Restore to give back to the very kind of community she came from. In everything she does, from city hall to boardrooms to mentoring circles, is driven by one goal: to make life better for someone else. She's been named to 20 to Watch, 40 Under 40, and one of Arkansas' most influential people. And I agree with them all. But to me, her greatest achievement is how she stayed grounded in her values. She kept her faith, her heart, and her calling close. She works hard, gives generously, and cares deeply. And she hasn't forgotten where she came from. As a father, you hope your children grow up to do well. But more than that, you hope they grow up to do good. Kendra, you have done both, and then some. Tonight, we honor your titles, your accolades, your impact, but more than anything, we honor you. The little girl who never gave up, the woman who never lost her purpose, and the servant leader who has made us all so incredibly proud. Congratulations, my beautiful daughter. I love you. So at this time, I would like to introduce to you my beautiful daughter, my baby girl, my KP, Miss Kendra Crystal Pruitt.
Whew. He did better than I'm gonna do. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Daddy. Good evening, Newport. All the Greyhounds are better than that. Good evening, Greyhounds. That's what I'm talking about. Woo, for the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. I give honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, the author and finisher of my faith, my waymaker, the one who ordered my steps long before I even knew the path I'd be on. My strength when I'm weak, and my guiding post on everyday trials. Lord, I thank you for this moment. To my daddy, wow. I often say, my dad is my biggest cheerleader and my mom is my head coach. She is calling the plays. As many of you all know, having been an educator in this district for a long, long time, but she has always been there to push me to be my best, and my daddy is rooting me whether I win or lose. So thank you. There's literally no me without them, and I stand on y'all's shoulders. I love you guys. Thank y'all so much. To the Hall of Fame committee, thank you so much for seeing me. Oh my goodness, for those who nominated me, thank you for honoring me. Thank you for believing in me. And to this community that raised me, thank you for supporting me, cheering me on across the street at that field house many a games. For my village who has helped raise me, you know who you are. To the teachers who corrected me, educated me, and made sure that I strived for those A pluses and not those A minuses. For the coaches who disciplined me, made me run line drills when I didn't want to. And for all of you who have prayed for me, supported me throughout my career. To those who made the trek from all the way from Florida, the Gibsons, and all the way from Little Rock. My family, my Little Rock family, who has continued to hone my leadership, thank you, thank you, thank you. I stand on the shoulders of each and every one of you, from classmates to educators to family and friends. There is no me without any of you. But let me tell you what makes this moment especially special for me. It's special because I'm being honored by home. Not some national organization, not some random city that I've traveled to, but the folks who knew me before the titles, before the law degree, before the world travel, Kendra before the polish. You all helped raise me, and you loved me anyway. And that's rare, but that's also Newport. That's true to who we are. Everyone who knows me knows that I'm a proud Greyhound. A proud Greyhound, orange and black all the way. So whether I'm in the state's capital city, advocating for marginalized communities each and every day through the work that we did at the City of Little Rock, or traveling the world representing Arkansas from the Middle East to South Korea, I always led by introducing myself as Kendra Pruitt, a country girl from Newport, Arkansas. And you might ask, why is that? It's because this is the town that made me. All of its beauty, all of its complexities, all of the good and all of the bad, it made me who I am today. It made me resilient. It made me tough. It made me rooted and grounded. But it also made me aware. You might ask, aware of what? Aware of how systems work, how some work better for others than it does for some others. It made me aware of the discrepancies of some people groups. And it made me aware of my why and how I can show up for those who might not have someone showing up for them. It made me aware of the lack of opportunities for certain people. Aware that not far from this great town where we're celebrating together, there's a town that's for whites only. Not far from here in 2025. And so I have always, because of that awareness, had to question myself, what am I gonna do about it? This town helped me ask myself that question as I was growing up and finding my voice. I decided here that I was gonna be the change that I wanted to see. It's so interesting that in 2009, I was an intern for Governor Mike Beebe. And we got on his plane when he found out I was from Newport, Arkansas. We got on the state's private jet and flew here for this very program when he was being inducted into the Newport Hall of Fame. I never could have imagined that years later, I'd be standing here receiving an award myself, being inducted into the very Hall of Fame that he was. And I ask myself, why did I not think that that was possible for me? And it's because I had never seen anyone who looked like me. I didn't aspire to that. As grateful as I am for this honor, it's not something I aspired to because I didn't see it as something I could receive. And so that's how special this moment is for me. And I also want to challenge all of you, while we get to sit here and fellowship together, how can we make this world a better place? There's another young black girl, maybe playing horse with her father in Newport, who doesn't know what she can be, who doesn't know that the opportunities and the possibilities that are available to her because she's never seen it. And I know very well that I am no exception to a rule. I am evidence of what Newport is and what Newport can be. And I want to make sure that we all continue to lift as we climb, we pull people up alongside us, and that we continue to hold the door for those who might not be able to. So let's ask ourselves that question. What can I do for someone else? How can I be better and make this world a better place? When my dad talked about my purpose, that's what it has become for me. When I went to Ouachita Baptist University, they called us difference makers. So I am committed to making a difference in the world each and every day. And maybe that's with one person, or maybe that's changing policies for some city or country across the world. But we can do that. We have that power ourselves. I firmly believe that I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. My family hails from, obviously, the continent of Africa, right? But they were brought to this country, the ports of Carolina, the Gulf in Alabama. They came to Arkansas. I have grandparents that cleaned the houses of white people, my very own grandparents. I have a grandmother here that I remember when she went back to college, and I was in the 6th grade, and I helped her with her homework. And I stand on the shoulders of those people. I stand on the shoulders of you to hold up this town, to make it all that it can be, and let the world know, as we're the center of the universe, as was shared, but we are doing it differently. And I hope that this recognition is only the first of many, and that we continue to represent Newport on a grand scale. I am just a country girl from Newport, but I wear that proudly, and I hope that you continue to do the same too. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for this honor. I'm grateful.
We're going to tag team this one. I'm Jennifer James, and this is Jerry Beth Bowen. We are both proud graduates of the Newport High School class of 1990. Tonight is a truly special night for both of us because we have the opportunity to honor someone who has never stopped honoring us. When you hear the name Susanna Thomas Marshall, you think of someone who has gone far and accomplished so much, and yet somehow has always stayed grounded to her network of friends and close to home. Susanna's name is known across the state of Arkansas. As the Bank Commissioner of Arkansas, she holds a position of great responsibility and influence. She has testified before Congress, advised national leaders, helped shape policies that have impacted all of us. And if that's not impressive enough, she was recognized as one of Arkansas Business's 40 Under 40 as a testament to both her hard work and the impact she began making at a young age. Susanna worked her way through the hierarchy of the state bank department by starting at the bottom as a bank examiner in 1995 until she reached the top when she was appointed to her current position in 2020. In 2023, the governor appointed her to also serve as the Arkansas Securities Commissioner. She took on this additional department without a hitch, and if you know her, you know that's the truth, while increasing the staff that she managed to over 120. One might think that as a government employee who has been in the same department for 30 years, she would be complacent and passing time. But that is far from true when you think of Susanna. She has dedicated her professional life to making certain that Arkansas banks are strong and well protected, while advocating for them on all levels of government and regulatory policy. If you ask any banker in the state of Arkansas if they know Susanna, of course the answer is yes. But she is thought of by her peers not only as fair, but likable. And that is a feat few could achieve in that position.
And here's what makes tonight so meaningful. Even though Susanna has lived in Little Rock for most of her adult life, Newport and Jackson County has always been her home. She never forgot where she came from because this county holds so many special memories and connections to her loving family. Susanna spent countless hours as a child and young woman at her grandmother's gift shop in Tuckerman. Many of you may remember Cora's Antiques. All of Susanna's friends had another set of grandparents in Mama Cora and Daddy Bugs, as she so lovingly referred to them. Her parents, Carol and Johnny Thomas, are beaming ear to ear tonight as they watch their Susu from above. Susanna is the most loyal friend that you could have, and we feel her love every day. She makes time for her people, no matter how full her calendar is. She treats her friends like family, and that kind of devotion is rare. From our early days together at Miss Doris's preschool, through the doors at NHS, and through the many ups and downs that life has brought, Susanna is always the first person that is there to hold us up and celebrate fully. She makes sure we get together if it's for a quick lunch or a week-long girls' trip and everything in between. Susanna has always helped us to realize that having a true friend is the real goal in this life. It's part of what makes her so deeply deserving of this honor tonight. Newport has always been at the center of her heart. She carries the spirit of this community with her wherever she goes and is always proud to announce that she grew up in Jackson County.
Tonight, we honor a remarkable woman, a friend, my sister, our sister, whose achievements inspire us and make us proud. But beyond all that she has accomplished, it is her deep love of her family, her friends, and this community that makes this moment so meaningful. We are proud not just of what she has done, but of who she is, and even prouder to be able to share this moment with her. On behalf of the class of 1990, all of us who know her, who have been inspired by her, who are loved by her, and who have been lifted up by her kindness and her leadership, it is our great honor to welcome Susanna Thomas Marshall into the Newport High School Alumni Hall of Fame.
I hope I don't need these, but anymore I don't trust myself. After 50, it's all another story. So I had thought real hard about trying to find a way to keep my composure tonight, and I have already failed at that. But that's okay, because that's who I am. Chris Dillon can tell you that when I get in front of a group of coworkers and colleagues, oftentimes my voice is the first one to crack. And so that's just part of who I am and what you may experience tonight. But I wasn't prepared for my two friends that got up here to share such wonderful remarks about me. It is beyond honor for me to stand here tonight. And thank you, Jennifer and Jerry Beth. These two ladies, many of you may know but may not know, that we have literally been together for 50 years. I met both of them when I was 3 years old at Miss Doris's, and there's not been a day since then that we have not been a part of each other's lives. And there's many others here tonight that I've been a part of for a long time, but these two ladies, that is probably the oldest friendship and memory I have of anyone. So thank you for making tonight very special. I want to also begin by saying thank you to each and every one of you, first of all, for being here, but to the committee, to the group that puts this together. What a lovely evening, a gorgeous gathering. Everything is perfectly well done, first class. And to anyone and everyone that may have been part of this nomination for me, I want to say thank you, because if there was something to maybe cross off my to-do list in life, this just did it. I have been so fortunate to accomplish what I feel is a lifetime of hard work and opportunity in a short period of time. I have more things I want to do in this life, but I have been blessed beyond measure with the areas that I've been able to serve and that I've been rewarded for with my hard work. I also want to congratulate each of the other inductees tonight. It's an honor to share this evening with you, and to all of those that have already been part of the Hall of Fame that have come before me. It's a sheer pleasure to be a part of this esteemed group. So congratulations to each of you tonight, and I'm so glad to be a part of this. Besides this table full of women here. I look out in the crowd and I see a lot of individuals that I've known my entire life. But this group of ladies that's at the table have been with me through all of life's trials and tribulations. As most of you know, I never had a large family to begin with. We were a small crew of 5, and I'm the last one standing. But I have many distant relatives, and I'm so blessed to have 2 of them here with me tonight. They are my family every day, and it means the world to me. Just as though you know that people are with you in your heart and spirit always, and I carry my family with me wherever I go. And tonight, I want to share a few words about why that means so much to me. But thank you all for being a part of it. My husband is the only gentleman at that table, and that's a role that he is very comfortable with. He belongs to all of us. I could not ask for an individual to be more caring, supportive, and encouraging than my husband. We met later in life. We have a lot of shared joys and hobbies in partnership. And I am who I am and achieved what I've been able to achieve because of his undying support and encouragement. So thank you very much for being by my side. As Jennifer and Jerry Beth mentioned, when I look out at this crowd tonight and I see so many familiar faces, people that are family to me, a lot of it is because of the fact that we had 2 small town family-owned businesses that this community, this county, quite frankly, this state supported every day. I had the rare opportunity of working in those businesses, sometimes not to my own liking, but nonetheless, I didn't realize then what that would mean to me, the lessons it would teach me, not just in how to be a good person, but to care for others, to do for others, to support others, and have others support you, to learn how to communicate and interact and engage with people. When I hire young people nowadays, that's one of the first characteristics I look for. Can someone look me in the eye and talk and yes ma'am and no ma'am and communicate and engage? Because I know that's valuable. And those were the lessons I was taught in those 2 businesses. And many of you in this room made our family who we are and able to actually for me to stand here because of your support of my families. And so I'm eternally grateful for that to this day. I just left a bankers convention. That's what I seem to always do, some kind of banker meeting. And just left it earlier today and drove across to get here. And I wanted to highlight something that happened just at the same meeting. One of the speakers was talking about business or banking or whatever, but talked about how community banks make a difference. And I promise I won't go into it, but Jim and Terry and Chris know I could talk about banking all day. So I won't keep you all with that. But the conversation was about who in the room, and there was probably about 200 of us, who in the room is the product of a small town. And I tell you what, I couldn't wait to raise my hand. I was on the front row doing it loud and proud. Because just like Kendra said, that is who I am, and it makes me so happy every day. I cannot wait to introduce myself to new people or meet new people and say, I'm from a small town in northeast Arkansas called Newport. And the funny thing about it is to Mr. John's point, so many people know exactly what I'm talking about. They said, I know somebody from Newport, or I've been through there, or I'm so-and-so, so-and-so's cousin. And granted, in about 10 minutes, we may actually be distant related, but it happens all the time. And it fills my heart with joy. For the first 10 years of our marriage, we would be traveling somewhere, whether it was in the state or across the country or whatever. It was a work event or just personally. Inevitably, I would run into somebody from Newport that knew somebody from Newport that had some kind of Newport connection. And he would look at me and say, what on earth? Like, how can there be that many people? It was never that big of a town. And I said, it was in spirit. It was in numbers of people that have crossed through these borders and these towns, and especially this school. And the connection and the kinship that we have all shared and continue to share is so strong that you never meet a stranger. But it's amazing that I never, ever go somewhere that I don't have a connection. This week alone at my convention, I had no less than 6 Newport connections at this convention this week. Every day I get up and go to work, I have a connection in Newport. And it's so fulfilling and heartwarming to know that so many people, whether they chose to stay in Newport or spread their wings and go beyond, can still find that common thread and that important factor that make us all family. And so it never gets old and it never gets tiring. Every few weeks, if I'm having a hard day or a hard week or something's going on personally, it's funny because my husband will look at me and he can tell. If I haven't been to Newport in about 4 to 6 weeks, I start getting a little itch. I start getting a little anxious, and something's just not right. And he knows. He said, "You're going to Newport this weekend." I said, "I sure am." And I get in that car, and that trip I've made 1,000 times that I can drive. I won't tell you how quickly I can get here, but I can get here pretty quickly. Jennifer knows. And I come up 67, and it's always going to be 67. I don't know whatever the new number is, it's going to be 67. And I get on that highway, and I cross that river bridge, and you all, the peace and ease that come across my mind and my soul, it goes without saying. I know that I'm home, and there are people here that love me and will support me and continue to guide me. And if it's for 24 hours or a whole week, I'm home. And I cannot begin to tell you what that feels like. If you've never had that experience, think about it, because home can mean so much, and it does to me. I think about what brought us to this point, to be a class of 1990 graduate, and knowing that this spring was 35 years for us. And I think back today as I was coming into town, I thought about, too, that 35 years ago that we sat out on that field. I had the honor of being one of the commencement speakers. And that night, as we wound down our graduation ceremonies, and there were plenty of hugs and tears and well wishes, I don't think any of us realized how impactful our time here at Newport High School had been, or junior high or elementary or whatever, all the way through. And this group of individuals that I was so blessed to be in school with. Now, I don't want any booze here, but class of 1990 was the best class ever. But as many of you know, we had a tremendous class. There was about 12 girls and 12 guys, and we had known each other all of our lives. And I'm looking at one of them right now, that we all had so much fun together, and we pushed each other to be better and stronger every day and achieve great things, and we all have. Whether we've got business owners or teachers or doctors or lawyers or folks that are engaged in community development of whatever, and most everyone are wonderful parents and amazing friends. Jennifer and Jeremy were so kind to talk about my friendship to them. But the things that people experience in life, when you look around the room and they are standing beside you, you know you can do anything. And so when we left that field that night, I don't think we realized what our future would hold, of course. It makes me so happy to know that I see so many of my classmates on a regular basis. If you don't and you have a chance to, do it, because these are still your people. To Kendra's point, this is my group. These are my people that helped elevate me and bring me to where I am today. I wouldn't want, in a way, I'm kind of glad Mom and Dad aren't here to hear me say this. I didn't want to go to college that night. I didn't want to leave the Greyhound field in Newport and go off to that next chapter. I was ready for it. I was excited about it. But the idea of leaving behind what the last 18 years had been was very hard on me. Maybe that's why I still cling to so much about Newport. I was prepared, as were my classmates, because of the amazing teachers, administrators, faculty, the women and men that were in the cafeteria, the people that were our biggest cheerleaders, but also our best disciplinarians. They helped us to be men and women that we would grow into and be able to be leaders. And I think about to how well prepared we were, even if we didn't realize it. They continue to celebrate us. There's so many times when I've continue to hear from teachers and other people that were in the school system as I've gone on to have different work opportunities and different accomplishments or different positions, that I still hear from so many people that helped get me there. And I'm very grateful for that. This community continues to support and encourage their own in whatever way it is. I am so grateful that so many people continue to have this ongoing love and support and celebration for each other. You know, I still tied to Jackson County in many ways. I have the opportunity to be a part of Tuckerman and Jackson County, North Jackson County, and so it means so much to me to be able to still call this home in some certain ways. I am blessed, honored, and humbled by this recognition. And I want to tell each and every one of you how much it means for me to have been a Greyhound now and forever. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joe Miles, a proud Greyhound. And this is one of my most favorite nights of the year. Alton knows. He'll take my picture here in a minute. And I'm going to go off script before I even start. I'll debate Susanna on the best class that's ever gotten out of Newport High School, because I believe it's class of 1970. And I have a pretty good perspective because I was on the school board in 1990 when these kids got out of school. So I kind of watched those little whippersnappers. And Susanna's dad, Johnny, worked for my dad at the service station. Wilkes and I worked together at the bank department. I opened a chest of drawers every morning that was bought at Cora's Antiques. So I have a little bit of insight on Susanna Thomas. I actually retired from banking before she became commissioner because I was afraid she'd run me out. Terry Dillon, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, he and I roamed these halls together for a number of years and then had a good opportunity to work together at Merchants and Planters Bank. I admire him and I appreciate his commitment to community. He's a wonderful Hall of Famer. And I have followed Kendra's career from afar, and both on the court as well as in the courtroom. She's a good attorney, got a great reputation, and I know from both Governor Beebe and Mayor Frank Scott in Little Rock how well she handles herself in pressure situations. So I love connecting the dots between people with their respective backstories. And I offer my hearty congratulations to all three of you, Terry and Kendra and Susanna. I truly treasure the connections that we share. And then there is my lifelong friend and littermate, Eddie Jones, or more formally tonight, Lieutenant Colonel retired Edward Davis Jones. Full disclosure, he ain't retired. And knowing Eddie as I do, he probably would just soon I sit down right now. But I won't. Every small town in America likely has one of those individuals known as a true Renaissance man. But what makes a Renaissance man? Leon Battista Alberti, himself an author, architect, poet, priest, linguist, philosopher, and cryptographer, the epitome of a Renaissance man, who lived in 15th century Italy during the actual Renaissance period, observed, "A man can do all things if he will." Simple enough. A man can do all things if he will. Yet finding a person with the willingness to do anything and everything with a comprehensive understanding of how to do such a thing or things is remarkable. Beth McKee Jones says of her husband, "Eddie Jones never says no. He is always willing to help anybody at any time." Sound familiar? A man can do all things if he will. That willingness to help anybody, anytime, is what prompted Eddie's return to Newport in 1996. His parents were both experiencing health challenges at the time, and Newport High School just happened to be searching for someone to lead its junior ROTC program. There was no better choice for such task. Eddie was wrapping up an accomplished 20-year military career, and he was a proven teacher in such places as West Point, Vanderbilt University, and the Defense Systems Management College. His wife, Beth, made me aware that Eddie regularly conveys to his students that if you will try, you will not fail. Hers is an experienced voice, since she has been a student herself in one of Eddie's adult education classrooms. As further evidence that Eddie was and is the right person to lead Newport's prestigious JROTC program, I want to point out that more than 150 NHS students have entered military service following their stints as cadets under his guidance. I am aware that 3 of these former students went on to graduate from the U.S. Military Academy and 1 other from the U.S. Air Force Academy. And I believe that my friend Eddie is the first Newport Fellow to actually finish at the U.S. Military Academy and graduate there with honors. A touching side story shared by my classmate Sherry Smith Johnson. Not long after Eddie joined the NHS faculty in the late 90s, Cherry informed him that Grant Evans, one of Newport's favorite sons, known for his love of the American flag and its symbolism, was overjoyed when he saw the JROTC cadets marching at the Greyhound football games. So with compassion, Lieutenant Colonel Jones wrapped his arms around this young student with Down syndrome and welcomed Grant into the JROTC hold. And Grant marched, and he waved the flag. And Grant marched, and he waved the flag some more. And he sang the praises of Eddie Jones all the livelong day. Now, Grant Evans, a 2002 NHS student, departed this life in 2014 at the age of 32, forever beholden to the caring heart of a soldier and a fine teacher. To recount his own student experience, Eddie Jones was co-valedictorian of the class of 1970. And for those interested, I finished somewhere way down below that. He was and is a respected classmate, confirmed by the 3 tables teeming with our classmates right over here to my right. You've got 1 table, Susanna, we got 3. Our senior year, these classmates recognized Eddie as the most versatile male student in our Who's Who ranks. That versatility was noticeable both on and off campus. He was a vital member of the 1968 undefeated Greyhounds football team and was selected all-conference for the 69 state championship team. Eddie led the Greyhounds tennis team, being state runner-up in singles our senior year. And if there were 6 people on that tennis team, I played number 6. Eddie served on the student council and was a member of the National Honor Society. He was in the junior play cast, and he achieved the rank of Eagle in the Boy Scouts. His academic achievement and extracurricular activities led to that appointment to the U.S. Military Academy, where he made the Dean's List and graduated in 1974 with commission as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army. And he played lead guitar for the Mystic Blues. It is obvious that Eddie's personal coming-of-age experience in the Newport school system is the foundational support for his teaching mantra, if you try, you will not fail. I mean, even in those instances when Eddie may not have won, he didn't fail. One of his closest childhood pals and fellow bandmate in the Mystic Blues, Billy Wayne Matthews, and I had a long conversation this week. And Billy Wayne provided a fond remembrance of Eddie from our junior high school days. Eddie was a candidate for president of the student council, and Billy Wayne was his campaign manager. Picture mid-1960s juvenile campaign slogans on hand-drawn posters, crepe paper streamers, fun campaign rallies, and stupid speeches delivered by the candidates and their campaign strategist. Eddie's principal opponent in that race was one Mary Wynn Parker, whose campaign manager was me. In the end, Eddie finished second to Mary Wynn and was rewarded the vice presidency. But what Billy Wayne really remembered was how gracious Eddie's attitude was, and that afterward they went to Billy Wayne's house to celebrate winning the vice president position and not losing the president's role. Now, if truth were known, we probably would point to the speech that I gave for Mary Wynn, which I just happen to have a copy of. And the final crowning blow to that speech was, don't let the halls of Newport Junior High keep getting any darker. Go back to your home rooms and vote for Parker. Now, how good is that? Now, the real trick, though, was that my candidate was a little prettier than Eddie. And Billy Wayne also remembered that John Sink finished a distant third in that race. Well, John, I'm thinking it might be time for a Mystic Blues reunion tour. Billy Wayne couldn't be here tonight. He regrets that. But bandmates Denny Bullard and John Sink are here to celebrate Eddie. And I'm betting either Ricky Wiggins or John Pennington could sit in on the drums for the late Joey Coe. And I asked Eddie what his most memorable Mystic Blues song was, and he quickly said, "Give Me Some Lovin'," because Sink could really play it. So if you bought your keyboard, John, we'll listen to you. Denny recalls Eddie's parents, Earl and Vivian Jones, as wonderful parents with these words. They patiently endured our rowdy practice sessions on 3rd and Elm, acting like it was just business as usual. What a blessing it was for so many of our generation to have such loving, grounded parents standing by us as we navigated the crazy 60s and 70s. And I say to that, amen, Denny. You know, Eddie was the only child of Vivian and Earl Jones, and then he married into the illustrious, joyful family of Mary and Charlie McKee, who embraced him as their own. The McKee and Jones clan is here in full force tonight, alongside Beth and their daughter Liz and grandchildren Charlie and William, and the heavenly presence of sister-in-law Kim and son Davis to share this moment. Mr. Happy is in the room. True to his versatility as a student at NHS back in the 1960s, Eddie routinely exhibits his varied interest through his contributions to community. When he was approached by his granddaughter Charlie about participating in the Jackson County Community Theater, Eddie told her, "If you'll do it, I'll do it." Do you hear the echo? A man can do all things if he will. So Eddie Jones, Renaissance man, he really fits the bill. But our generation grew up with comic books in hand featuring superheroes, not the Greek and Roman literature that had been revived and revered interest in 15th century Italy. So with comic book in hand, I look to my right and I see Superman. And much like Clark Kent, the everyday persona of Superman, Eddie Jones is mild-mannered, kind, considerate, humble, quick to act in aiding others, and certainly deserving of this Hall of Fame honor. Give him some loving and welcome Lieutenant Colonel Eddie Jones to the Newport Alumni Hall of Fame.
Did a pretty good job on that joke. I knew I picked the right person. I'm going to kind of echo Mr. Pennington over here. Most of my comments are about Newport and Newport High School, Newport School District. Now, my dad was a 1938 Greyhound, and I remember him talking about, they were called the Winless Wonders. They lost every game his senior year and his junior year. And I was thinking, well, why did you enjoy that? It was a great time. We had a good time. I learned a lot. But always in the back of my mind, I was thinking it might have been a little bit more fun to win at least one game. Well, sure enough, we ended up winning a few games. He also used to talk about a man called Dub Mullins, Dub this, Dub that, John Mullins this, John Mullins that. And lo and behold, that's the superintendent. He was the superintendent. Not only was the superintendent, he was the one that ended up saying, we're going to have a JROTC program here. He insisted that we were going to have a JROTC program here. He was a prisoner of war during World War II. And my dad told me a lot about him, and I was lucky enough to get to meet him. He helped me get into West Point. I've got some letters I cherish from him. But one thing I'll say about Newport, he was outstanding, but so is Mr. Bradley. I don't know if he's out there somewhere. We're very blessed here in this community. I saw Ronnie K., Sharon Pruitt. I could go down a long list. Coach Reynolds sitting over there. Mr. Greer, who was one of my first students. Have I been here a long time? Have I been here too long? He was one of my students, very good student. Mr. Killer Miller, I don't know if he's here, but these guys, I know Ronnie K's got to be here somewhere. These, and Sharon Pruitt, all of these principals were simply outstanding. Our school leadership is great. It's always been great. I've been here a long time. And my grandkids are going here. My kids going here. I graduate from here. I like Newport. I like Newport High School. The city of Newport. Now, when I went to West Point, it is true that this accent is not a benefit when you go to a military academy. The first thing they would say, where are you from, son? I said, sir, I'm from Arkansas. He said, no, you're not from Arkansas. You got shoes on. And it went downhill from there. So the whole first year of my experience at West Point, I still loved Newport, wanted to go home. In fact, I was really wanting to go home after about 2 months at West Point. But Newport has always been a foundation which I cherish. It's not perfect. There's no place perfect. I know that John's traveled all over the world. I've traveled to quite a few places also. I'd as soon be here as any of them. It's safe. I haven't locked my door ever. My parents never locked their door. I think I've had one bicycle stolen in 100 years, and I got that back. So I feel safe here. There's no place in Newport that I'm afraid to go to. I know Coach Moore would ride his bicycle, and they said, "Where are you riding your bike?" I go all over the town. And sure enough, I rode with them, and everywhere we went, somebody would be shouting, "Coach Moore this, Coach Moore that." Students that we had. Didn't matter what their economic status was or what the color of their skin happened to be. Didn't matter. So I cherish that about Newport. Now, I was hoping all my teachers were here so I could pick on them. Gloria Holden's not here, but she put it on me. But probably the most traumatic incident of my entire high school career was with one of my English teachers. Her name was Mrs. Carr. Her house is not too far from here. And I learned something. I learned something very important. The word Jones has an S at the end of it. And she put on the board, the possessive is Jones apostrophe S. And I took issue with that. Now, what I learned was there's a correct way to take issue with someone in authority. And there is an incorrect way to take issue with someone in authority. So I took the incorrect route one time. I haven't ever done it since then. I opened up my book and in front of class said, "Look, on page 468, it says it's this way, not the way you're doing it." That was a mistake. Now, she didn't say very much. She just changed the subject and went on to teaching. She didn't call me after class. She didn't shout at me. I was ready for that. It didn't happen. But when my report card came out, it had C- in citizenship. Now, I think Kendra got upset about an A-. I didn't make anything but straight A's while I was here. I'm not bragging, I'm just telling fact, except for that C-. I had straight A's on my report card in every subject. Well, my mother is the kind of person that doesn't have a sense of humor about low grades. So I tried to explain my side of the story. My dad, he's pretty quiet. He was on the Windless Wonders. He wasn't jumping up and down. In fact, I looked on his report card. It said, "Earl is inclined toward mischief." That was written in his report card by a teacher. So my dad wasn't that bent out of shape, but my mother wasn't going to stand for this. So she drags me over to see Bubba Parnell, another great principal. I love Bubba Parnell. And she tried to get my grade changed to an A. After all the reasons why and this, that, the other, into the discussion, said, "I'm not changing the grade." So we walked out of the classroom. My mother upset, but I learned a valuable lesson. Someone in authority, you got something going wrong, ask them to speak in private. Don't go and throw something out on the table and make them look bad. If a police officer stops me, I had one police officer stop me who was a student of mine, pulls me over, he said, "Colonel, you didn't even slow down at that stop sign." I said, "No excuse, sir." He looked at me and said, "Have a good day." Now, if you start, first time you come up with that excuse, whatever that excuse is, and I learned this right here at Newport, it goes downhill 99% of the time. I tell the cadets, if your mother or dad or your grandparents ask you why you didn't do something, they really don't want to know. They already know. They know why you didn't do it. They know. But as soon as you come up with that one reason, which would have been maybe a 20-second discussion, turns into a long lecture of why you didn't clean your room, why you didn't do your homework. Just say no excuse. No excuse. Now, at West Point, you have 4 answers. Yes, sir, no, sir. Now they got men also. But when I was there, it says yes, sir, no, sir. No excuse, sir. Sir, I do not understand. That's it. As a freshman, that is it. So you've asked a question. Now, when you're an upperclassman, you don't have to do that. But for 1 year, that was drilled into me. I also learned that it drilled into me not to correct someone in authority. That was drilled into me. So between West Point and Newport, I can usually keep my wife happy about half of the time. Yeah. I ain't got above the 50% yet. I'm working on the 50%. Now, I want to say a little bit more about Newport School. First of all, my 2 grandkids are going here, so that ought to tell you something. They're not going to some school north of here or south of here. And I won't say any school names because some of you may be from there. But if you ask me in private, I'll be glad to tell you. Newport has had 7 academy graduates. 7. Vanderbilt, 3 from Newport High School. Newport, nobody can tell me Newport can't prepare our students to excel in whatever they want. Teachers I had aren't any better than the ones we have sitting out here. They're just older like me. We've got teachers sitting right out here that I want my grandkids to learn from. They care, they're smart, they're good. I don't need to go to no academy in Searcy. I don't need to go north. I don't need to go south. I want to go right here at Newport High School. Now, that's the education side of that. You know, I already retired 3 times, so I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just telling you the truth. Literally, I have retired 3 times, but not from teaching. I retired and then came to work the next day, so I still work for Mr. Bradley over there. As I look back at Newport, the things that I can really say helped me in life, and my coaches, I want to talk to you just briefly, and then I'm going to shut up. When I went to West Point, I thought I was pretty good. I thought I was hot stuff. Class valedictorian, had me a Roadrunner, 69 Roadrunner that my parents bought, and then they sold as soon as I left because they weren't going to have to pay for me going to college. Had 2 or 3 girlfriends at that time. A couple of you are sitting out there, so I'll be careful about what I say in that area. But I thought I was pretty good. I mean, I was cocky. And when I got up to West Point, the first thing I realized, I made a big mistake about that. They asked me, "What is your rank?" And I said, "Sir, I do not know." He said, "You rank below the superintendent's dog." "Sir, I rank below the superintendent's dog." This is the first 5 minutes at West Point. It went downhill from there. So for the first year, they're trying to run you away. Well, I used to think back, this is not as bad as what the coaches used to do to us. I know I can look around the room, some of you can agree with me. A coach counts, first words out of his mouth is, "You ain't nothing but a bunch of damn prima donnas." Every one of you. We could win a football game. It wouldn't matter if we won 60-0. That was his attitude. There was none of this praise. You guys really played good. I'm so proud of it. None of that stuff existed. Now, Mr. Pennington won't like this part of the story, but I think I can prove it's true if he denies it. We came back from getting beat one time, get off the bus. This was when I was a sophomore, and they wanted us to run 100 yards for every point we got beat. Now, it was night time. We all wanted to go home. Either do that or get off the team. We had one person that didn't want to do it. Was it your brother? All right, I'll cut him some slack. It was his brother. The next morning, he was out there running. There was none of this coddling or none of this baby stuff. So I learned that if I could play football at Newport, Arkansas, and survive Coach Council, Coach Massey, and Coach Duncan, I can do anything. And I always think back, well, they're going to make me go out and stay in the woods all night, and they're going to make me get up in the morning and run 2 miles. I said, this is not anywhere close to as hard as 2-a-day practice in August. So there is definitely a place for sports. So if I could credit what little marginal successes I have had, I credit Newport and Newport High School. I credit this community. I credit the people that I know here. I credit the Mullins that I didn't get to know as well as I want to, but he inspired me. He still inspires me. I've got letters where he's telling me, the school board did this to me, but it ain't no big deal. I'm going on. Keep going. That's kind of the way he was operating back then. And that's kind of the way I like to operate now. So when I tell my cadets, I got 1 week before I get to do this, This is not part of this teacher in-service. So if Mr. Greer, by the way, Mr. Greer is an outstanding principal. I wish he was here. He's outstanding. I'll take all the credit because he's one of my best cadets. But he is outstanding. When they walk in my class, the first thing I say is, this is an elective. You can elect in or you can elect out. Now, they're not used to hearing that here at Newport, but that's the first words. I'm not over there shaking their hands, welcoming them to my class. I try to start off kind of the way they treat me at West Point. Usually out of 60 people, there'll be 2 that walk out the door. I usually say, where's our choir singer? I usually say, can you sing? Because I know a place you can go. We got 117 people this year, which is a good number. I'll tell them the same thing. This is an elective. If you don't want to get with the program, if you don't want to do push-ups, if you don't want to read, if you don't want to write, if you don't want to listen to me, there's the door. Counselor is about 2 blocks down. That works pretty well. Now, the math teachers can't get away with that. English teachers can't get away with that. I don't know how they do it. I guess they pray a lot with Coach Reynolds, because if I had some of these students all the time that didn't want to be in my class, my job wouldn't be so much fun. But my job is fun. Yeah, I'm getting paid for it. The Army pays half my salary, and the other half the school pays for it. But it's a fun job because the people I've got in there want to be in my class. That changes everything. Final thing I want to talk about, and then I'll shut up. Jim Johnson's in here somewhere. He's a combat veteran. When I say combat, he was getting shot at. I was a Cold War veteran. The Russians didn't come, thank goodness. But I spent 20 years, that's what I did. Younger guys like Jim over there, he was getting shot at. So between me and him, we can give you the perspective of the military. We want more people to go into the military. He can tell you what it's like to be shot at, and I can tell you what it's like to be a teacher at West Point. Pretty good deal, actually. In closing, I'm sorry I said anything to offend you. Please forgive me, Beth. All right, good. Thank you, Mr. Bradley, for letting me teach here. And for the administrators and teachers, thank you for letting me be here. And for Newport, thank you, Newport.
When Eddie mentioned Miss Carr, I thought he was going to break out in iambic pentameter verse, because I do know for a fact that his senior sonnet was selected for national publication, because I still have the book. I think it was called The Man and the Beast or something. Am I right? Yeah, it's a great poem. So I'll refer it to you. If you need a copy, just send. This is not in your program, but at this point, relative to the JROTC program, I want to introduce my friend Mr. Jim McClarty to make a special announcement. Jim.
Thank you, Joe. Before I tell you what I'm fixing to tell you, I need to give you just a little bit of facts and context of wherever I'm going. Ray Linwood Roberts, U.S. Army Sergeant First Class, retired. Army was the only job he ever had. He came home to be close to his roots in Newport. Actually, his roots were out at Auburn around Sand Hill. He bought a little house on Wilkerson in March of 21. He was not in good health. He was homebound. Colonel, he got a bike with the 2 tip wheels in the back, trike, to get around until he got hit on the bike over by Holden Avenue Church, and that put him in the house for good. He had his best friend in the house, a little white dog, Coco, always at the window looking. His best friends that knew him here were James Dean Walton, James Dean's wife, Ann, and his next-door neighbor, Mike Knight. Despite his bad health, he would look out the window and he would watch your students walk the sidewalk. He would listen to your students on Friday evening raise hell over here on the football and all the traffic, and he felt a part of Newport, even though you didn't know him, and he could never actually be a part of what was going on. Ray died March the 22nd, 2025. I got to know him when James Dean asked me to help him. I wrote his will on March the 6th of 25. So he lived 16 days after that. When we talked about life and what he had, what he could do, he picked three things. He picked his church, he picked the cemetery across from the church, and then I'm going to read you what he picked third. The rest and remainder of my estate I leave to the Arkansas Community Foundation to establish and fund the Ray L. Roberts JROTC Scholarship Award at the Newport, Arkansas High School, based upon obtaining, hopefully, a 3-point GPA, not having a history of drugs or alcohol, having a demonstrated financial need for the help, and a stated desire for military service. It is my honor and privilege to tell you that if we are successful in selling his little house at 318 Wilkerson for what we're asking for and the money that we already have in the account, Sergeant Ray Roberts will be giving this foundation $125,000. The foundation in Little Rock that will be handling the money predicts, unless times change, that they'll be able to generate 5% a year, some $6,000 plus, and that will go on in perpetuity. He would love to be here tonight in my place to tell you how he felt about you. But he loved this town, and he loved the military, and he's so happy to be a part of the town and support you, Colonel, and those cadets. Thank you for letting me share that.
I'm honored and humbled that Terry asked me to do this tonight to celebrate with him this event. My name is Thelma Welch. I'm Senior Vice President and Loan Officer at Merchants and Planters Bank. I had the privilege of working with Terry for a lot of wonderful years. He began with M&P in '76, and I joined M&P in 1980. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to work and learn alongside him. And I want to say he's not just a colleague, he's a dear and trusted friend. Now, in truth, Terry and I go a little further back than banking days. My earliest memories of him are as Kathy's big brother and the big high school football jock. Terry is older than I am. I want to make that clear. Our hair may be fooling you, but you know, Terry's motto always was, better to turn gray than to turn loose. When I came to Merchants and Planters Bank, I started in the bookkeeping department. Then I went to the note department and finally to the lobby. We didn't really have loan assistance at that time. That was something brand new. And so I began to work with Terry, and we kind of developed our own methods of how we did things. And I think we made a pretty good team. We worked as a team until Terry moved to serve as president of Preferred Choice and McCartney, Manning, McDonald, and Gwynn, which then merged to become Merchants and Planters Bank, M&P Insurance and Investments. Terry's time, energy, and dedication surpass his banking career. He has given of himself to his community and his state in innumerable ways through boards and committees, which include Arkansas Good Roads Council, M&P Community Bank Shares, and Merchants and Planters Bank boards, Newport Airport Commission, Newport Water Commission, Newport Area Chamber of Commerce, Newport Special School District Charitable Foundation, Newport Jackson County Industrial Development Commission, Newport Country Club, and the Newport Kiwanis Club. Terry served on the vestry and as a lay reader at St. Paul's Episcopal Church, and he was instrumental in the development of the Arkansas Scholars Program at the Newport School District. He always, every time we made a presentation, he always told the students his favorite thing was education equals dollars. Terry also was very involved with the committees of Depot Days, Port Fest, and the White River Delta Blues Society. One of his proudest commitments was serving as the chairman of the Directors Steering Committee in the transition from White River Votech to what is now ASU Newport. Tonight, I want to recognize all that Terry has done and all to which he has committed himself. However, I really want to share with you the man that I know and who is so deserving of this recognition tonight. Now, to begin, you may not know this, but Terry and I are wired just a little bit differently. When we worked at the bank, there was a saying, "Don't get in front of Thelma or behind Terry." And they said it all the time. And I want to say tonight that I've never regretted being behind Terry, and I want to share with you 5 things that I learned by having that privilege. Number 1, patience. When Terry and I were working together, my desk was right outside Terry's door. He would have some persons who would come just to talk. Sometimes they may want to talk business, but a lot of times they just wanted to be heard. Terry could be covered up with work, and he would sit and listen, and let me tell you, he heard some really incredible things I wouldn't share with you all tonight. I have memories that we won't talk about. But no matter what was going on, Terry always made that person feel that he was interested, cared about him or her, and the things that they talked about. Number 2 was kindness. Terry was always thoughtful and caring with his customers and his co-workers. There was one customer in particular that I think about a lot. He had impaired vision and he wore really thick glasses. Now, Terry's desk set back up. It was in the far corner of the bank before we remodeled, and his desk set way back up in the room. And so when the person stood up to leave, there was a big glass window there. And this poor little man, bless his heart, he turned to leave, and he didn't get to the door. He hit that window so hard. And we were all just like, oh no, oh no. And Terry jumped up from his desk. He said, "Don't worry about it. People do that all the time." So he always cared about making people feel comfortable. Number 3, courage. During the time that Mary Catherine was sick and Debbie had to be gone with her, Terry continued to do his job and to be the same great guy we all know. He could be depended on to be at work and to do his job well. He was concerned with others and their needs. He never made excuses or failed to meet the demands of his position. I believe that one of the most important reasons that he was strong and brave was because of Debbie. The two of them are a dedicated support system for one another, and they continue to display this through their care and love for each other, their family, and their friends. Now, I have to add here that Terry also showed some courage. Debbie had been in Omaha for 6 to 9 months, and so when he went, Debbie, the first thing she said to him was, "I need a haircut." And she said, "I want you to cut my hair." And Terry's like, "Cut your hair?" Anyway, she cut his hair. Terry came back, and he was so proud. He told all of us, "I cut Debbie's hair, and it looked so good." And the nurses bragged on it. And not going to lie, I was a little concerned that Terry might be through with banking and looking at hairdressing. Number 4, dedication. Terry always wanted good things for the bank and for our community, and he dedicated himself to promoting both. Terry was so proud to be a banker that he raised a banker who's now an examiner. And his son, Chris, continues Terry's banking legacy today. Like Terry and Debbie, Chris and his wife, Jessica, exemplify that legacy of devotion to one another and their commitments. As I have shared earlier, Terry served on many committees and boards outside the bank. Terry gave his time and energy to these things in an effort to better our area. He has been a part of community growth and development for the town and the county. His time at the bank contributed to the success and expansion that the bank now enjoys. His commitment to Merchants and Planters Bank and M&P II was always evident by his actions and the legacy that he left. Number 5, the gift of encouragement. Terry taught me so much. I'm able to do what I do today because of what Terry and others shared with me. Terry never tried to keep his knowledge a secret. He shared what he knew and offered reassurance and praise for the job done, not only to me, but to many others within our organization. He continues to make me feel proud of what I do and what I am a part of. To conclude, I still grab the phone and call Terry to tell him something funny or something sad or something that involved one of our customers, maybe just something that happened that day. We share the same memories, and many of those only we can understand and laugh about. Terry Dillon, it is an honor to be part of this recognition and presentation for you tonight. I admire you, I love you, and I will always call you my friend. This is a well-deserved moment for you. It gives me great pleasure to present you with this honor as an inductee into the Newport Alumni Hall of Fame.
Well, Thelma's really a special person, as you know, all of y'all. Thelma's also a Newport girl, born and bred here. Born here. And but anyway, to get along with what's going on in the program, I want to thank so much that warm and meaningful introduction, Thelma. You're just the best you can be. You're a special friend to Debbie and me. Thanks to the foundation for inducting me into the class of 2025. It was totally unexpected. I just never would have dreamed that something like this could happen to me, but it did, and it is an honor that I will cherish for the rest of my life. And I'm also honored to be in the class with Kendra and Eddie and Susanna. I'm honored to have some of my classmates with me. And so if we're going to measure by quality, it's got to be by size, right, John and Mary? Because I think we're the only 3 in here that were 69. So it's got to be because of size. But there's Penn back there in the back. Why didn't you sit in the front rows? But anyway, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to receive this award. And I'm also honored to have my immediate family, my banking family, and others that take up maybe another way we could measure this quality of honor is that I think I've got more tables than anybody else does. But thank y'all for coming. My brother and sister-in-law came from Sanger, Texas, and my sister came from Town. And they gave up Grape Fest this week. So you know this has got to be a special event for them to give up that. But I have lots and lots of memories after working at the bank. And I'm also, before I get into that, my son that is a great, great guy, and I'm glad to have him with us. I'm glad to have my wife of 49 years. You know, she's been with me all the way that any of the things that I accomplished in life. But it would be even a more special event if my parents, Debbie's parents, and our darling Mary Catherine could be with us tonight. But they're smiling down at us from heaven. But things happen that we don't understand. Newport was a great place to grow up. I probably would not be standing here tonight were it not for all the teachers, the encouragement and support from all the teachers, my family, my coaches, and then again, Debbie, they helped mold me for the man that I am. Newport Special School District gave me a well-rounded education that helped me prepare for college and life later on. I was fortunate to have great teachers like Miss Betty Newell and Miss Gloria Holden. Betty was my speech teacher, and I hope that I get a passing grade on this speech, Betty. My teachers all throughout high school, they challenged us, and they challenged me and all of my classmates, and they made learning fun. So, and I think that Gloria might have been here, but I think she's having some health problems and then just lost her husband, Charles. So we need to say a prayer for her. But when I scan this room, I think I see all the friends that I've had over the lifetime, and it's great to come back to a setting like this. But in education, there is as we know, there is a board of directors who governs the goings-on of the school. But some of the teachers back in my time, I think this has been maybe changed a little bit, but teachers would have a board, their own board of education, and it was called a paddle. Well, Butch Duncan, one of my favorite coaches, he had his paddle, and it was this board of education, and it was this long, and it had holes on it, and it that big. But my civics class was next to Butch's classroom in high school, and whenever some of us guys would get unruly, either in my grade or other grades, we would get called out into the hallway for a special meeting with Butch's Board of Education. And we only wanted to do it once because it was an uplifting experience. Another part, and this was a lesson learned, that discipline is a part of the educational process, and it can be in the hard way. But if you can learn, live and learn. Football was a special chapter of memories for me that taught me a lot about life and myself. Lessons learned, another form of discipline, and Eddie talked about the running. I've never wanted to run again since we ran those laps up and down, up and down. We went back and forth. It was just about to the point of where our tongue was dragging, but it got us to where we wanted to be. I think one time somebody faked a heart attack or something. I can't remember, but but anyway, football. Lessons learned in football were some discipline, hard work, dedication, teamwork, knowing your opponent, and also skills of the game and perseverance. Because you could either, like Eddie says, you could either leave or you could get in, get out. But we did pretty good in our football career. But starting in football, in our Grey Pup years, we were nearly undefeated, but by 1 point we missed being undefeated. And that game was in Searcy. And I was the running back, and we scored a touchdown, and I was given the ball to go in for that extra point. And the referee said, no good. And he says I dropped the ball before I got into the end zone. We all knew that wasn't right. But it also was in Searcy, and there could have been a little bit of home cooking involved in that situation. But another thing that I learned, and we all learned with football and in other things, life is not fair. But coming on down through the years, our 1968 Greyhound team got payback on Searcy because we were the first, I think, somebody correct me, we were the first undefeated team in Newport history. So if we played Searcy, we had to have beat them. But
46 to nothing.
No, you're getting ahead of me. You're getting ahead of me. It's late, I know. But another memory that was very fond of me and all of us on the team, either as seniors or juniors or sophomores, was we were the last one to play baseball in the Thanksgiving game. Now, some of you in the room remember the Thanksgiving game. Some of you probably just have heard about the Thanksgiving game, but it was a big deal. It was a social event of the year. But we did play baseball, and it was a rivalry that went back I don't know how many years, but we did play them, and we had to have the win in order to be undefeated that year, and we did. And what was the score, John?
46 to nothing.
That's right. But the lesson learned in football or anything that we did was be proud to be a Greyhound, a continuing theme that goes on through the evening. But I still think about all those things. But it's also a 68. That year is a long time ago. Some of you weren't even a twinkle in your mother's eyes back then. But I think we were over at Mike and Kay's watching the 68 game. I can't remember exactly when, but Chris asked me, said, "Dad, did y'all have face masks on your helmets?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm not that old. We did have masks." Time flies when you're having fun. But the Greyhound football team and other sports, Newport sports, it continues to be a tradition to our family. No matter where we go, in Florida, Branson, or Texas, or wherever, if we're not at a TV watching Cable 15, we miss a great time. But we try to make that be close to a TV or be close to YouTube. It's not a cable event, but we do watch the Greyhounds. But after graduation in 1969, I continued my educational process at Rhodes College in Memphis, where I continued to play football, and then after getting hurt with a knee surgery and being in a full cast and living on the 3rd floor of my dorm and with no elevators, I decided to hang up my cleats and pursue education full time. Lesson learned, Julian, Hunter, anybody else in here, is that play a sport that you can do the rest of your life, like tennis or golf or swimming or something like that, that doesn't beat up your body later on in life. But after graduation from Rhodes College, I came back to Newport to seek my fame and fortune. And after getting a job at Harris Hospital for a while as a patient accounts manager, and then working with Roger Brand in the insurance business, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Debbie and I married in 1976, and in November of '76, I interviewed for a job with Ernest McDonald, the president of Merchants and Planters Bank. And he took a chance on me and hired me as a management trainee. After getting the job at the bank and getting married, what I wanted to do with my life began to come a little more in focus. Then when Chris came along, that was a little more focus. But while at the bank, I strived to learn all that I could about banking, because I found out another lesson in life: if you're not learning, you're backing up. All the while, I got involved in a number of community activities, of which I would like to share with you tonight. The number one event and activity that I got involved with that was so fun to me that Thelma brought up in my introduction was the conversion of White River Votech to what is now ASU Newport. I see a couple of fellows back here, maybe more than that, I know, that work at ASU Newport, so y'all might not be aware of some of these backstories that I'm about to tell you. But for years, we had the White River Votech School. And for years, I was the chairman of the advisory committee. And so every year, we would get together out at the school and have a meet and greet with Bob Steiger, Lonnie McNatt, and other personnel from the college, and a meet and greet, and we would cook fish, and then we'd go about our business. But eventually, and it came to us that the enrollment in the college and the Votech was declining, and something had to happen. So after that, me as the advisory committee chairman, and Terry Scoggins as the president of Chamber of Commerce, and others with Little Rock, the education department, and politicians that were involved in the thing, we got our heads together to see what we could do. And the next thing that I remember, a bunch of us show up at the steps of the House of Representatives to present a bill. Tom Collier, he came out to meet us, and he said, "We got a problem, guys." And a problem? What kind of problem? He said, "Well, it turns out that White River Votech is not in my district, but it's in Owen Miller's district." And Owen Miller, he was from Mark Tree, and he came out and he said, "I don't know, since y'all didn't involve me, I just don't know that I'm going to be in support of this action." So had we known that he was, it was in his district, for sure we would have, got him involved into the situation. So we apologized and almost got on bended knee, and finally he came around, and the legislation started. And now why, and y'all might know this, it may be in the records out there, but why we went from White River Votech to ASU-BB Newport. ASU-BB Newport, I don't know. But eventually it became ASU Newport, and it didn't matter, how it had to, how it had to work out. But I think in my lifetime, and I think probably a lot of y'all in this room would say that having ASU Newport in our community, in our area, is one of the biggest economic and educational factors of our communities. And thank y'all. Thank y'all for all that y'all do. There's some more backstory to that thing, but Debbie didn't want me to tell it. It was the name. It was something about a name. You remember that, Lee? But anyway, another thing that I was fortunate to be chosen to do outside of my banking activities was that I served on the Newport Water Commission for a number of years. And this was meaningful in that there are two things that we can't do without in our life. Number one is air, and it's the only thing that's still free to a certain degree. But another thing that we cannot do in our life without is water. So serving on the committee and getting to know all of the people that are involved in bringing you water to your faucet when you turn it on, it was a special thing to me, because they are very dedicated, and they, like I say, bring a very, very quality product to your faucet every time you turn it on. Now, another event that I was involved in that Thelma mentioned was I was part of the group that formed the Arkansas Scholars Program. Arkansas Scholars is a program, that's sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. Arkansas Scholars, and Thelma was on the committee, Julie was on the committee, Stacy, Jim Jr. was on the committee, and others were on the committee. But every year, and this thing goes back for 20, 25 years, but every year we would meet with ninth graders. Hunter, do you remember when we met with you in the 8th grade? But every year we would meet with the 8th graders as they went out to the 9th grade we tell them that you're about to start your permanent transcript. you're permanent. You know, you can't change it. If you think you wanted an A, like Eddie's mama wanted him to have an A after that C, if it gets in the record, it ain't going to get changed. Excuse my language, Debbie. But so it's tried to inspire with them too. The four criteria are make C's at least an average of C's in all of your classes. Attend class 95% of your time. Finish high school in 8 consecutive semesters and take some of the required core curriculum classes. Is that all of them, Judy? So the attend class, believe it or not, I guess I could probably get a vote on on what y'all thought was the most important criteria, but I won't go to that extent. But attending class was the most important thing that, and some I remember it a couple of times, did it? Thelma and Julie, did we have a valedictorian that didn't qualify for Arkansas Scholars because he didn't attend class 95? He had some mitigating reasons, but he didn't qualify. But those were the things that if you met those four criteria year after year after year, you would get a little red sticker. Maybe it was a big red sticker. I don't know. But it went on your transcript. And so the significance of that is that if you were to go to apply for a job with Dub Mullins, and he saw that you had a little red sticker on your transcript, and maybe I didn't, well then he would probably give that job to the student that was an Arkansas Scholar, because he knew all of these four things, that student possessed all those characteristics and achieved all those things. So as Thelma says, education equals dollars. You know, the number of years you want to put into your education, you know, you can be somebody that works at Walmart, or somebody, no, they make good money, but you could be somebody that flips hamburgers, somebody who works for other jobs that are all very, very meaningful and necessary in our society. But if you wanted to put in for the education, put out the effort, you can be all that you want to be, and education equals dollars. Since 2002, and I think this is how far Julie's records go back, there have been 396 Arkansas Scholars. And so getting the little red sticker is not easy. So that's another thing that your Chamber of Commerce is doing for your community, and I was proud to be a part of that committee. But retirement got in the way of that situation. So moving right along, in my banking career, in 1984, Jim Gowan Sr. became our president, and he was a great boss to all of us. He was always challenging, he was always fair, and it was always fun to be an employee of his. In those 42 years, I witnessed a lot of change in the way banks do business. I've often told people that the most significant change and technology event was the creation of the fax. Now I just can't, I couldn't fathom and wrap my head around how you could stick this sheet of paper in a fax machine and it would show up in New York or somewhere. But we even had a customer back when the casinos came onto the scene. She came in and she'd gotten some literature from them, and she was going to win a lot of money. And she came in and said, "Mr. Terry, I'm going to the casino and I'm going to have them fax all of my winnings to me." And I said, "Well, Gene, it doesn't really work that way." But anyway, since that time, there have been more. I don't even think y'all turned the fax on, do you, Wanda? But the bank and the holding company has grown a lot, and Jim Gowan Sr. was always there challenging us. I'd like to say he was fair
and he wanted us to be the best that we could be, so the bank could be the best it could be for our community. And so I'm just proud to have been a part of it. But even though Debbie and I have relocated to be close to Northwest Arkansas, to be closer to Chris and Jessica, be close to Danny and Kathy, and we're also closer to Dennis and Linda. We're closer to Mary Julian and Julian and Nancy and Leon. We still have that orange and black blood running through our veins. And so it's a blessing to call Newport High School and Newport, our home and the place where we got our education. And I also want to thank, and I want to say another thing about my banking career. And I think, Thelma, you might be in bookkeeping, but Pat Davis is there. We all have memories. But one of my memories and I've always hated a tie, and Debbie made me wear this tie because she said it's business dress, I think is brought down. But we had an examiner that he was making copies. He was scanning things into this scanner, and he leaned over, and that tie got caught in the shred. No, it wasn't a shredder. What was it? But anyway, that tie got caught into that machine, and it was going on, and he was hollering help, and finally, I thought it was going to kill him, choke him to death, and but anyway, they got that thing turned off, and he never did ask us for the money to replace that tie. But little things like that, they go a long way with you. Joe, you might have been there at the time. I don't know. You might have been the one that dropped your keys on the floor to make him bend over. But there's so many memories involved in all of my life that I want to thank the Lord in heaven, for all the blessings, of this life. We are because He is there to, guide us and love us. And I also want to thank Debbie for always being at my side and being the glue that binds our family. Each night when I go to sleep, I look forward to the next day so I can wake up and love her more than I did the next day. And I want to recognize Chris, our son. Your mom and I, love you, and we're proud of you for what you've become. Thank you. And this is another thing that Debbie wouldn't let me do, but like I say, she's the glue that ties the fine. Those sheets here. This is a solicitation for a donation. You can't make a better donation to anything. The things that this foundation does for our kids and our teachers, the school does the best they can for putting money into the budget for them to have their room together with all the teaching materials. But this is money that these kids would not be able to go to Memphis, would not be able to go to Little Rock. Debbie tells me there were stories about how kids would they'd take them on a field trip, and they'd go to Memphis, and they'd cross the Mississippi Bridge, and they thought it was the ocean. They had never been, out of Arkansas, much less out of Newport, Arkansas. So, and I was going to say, I've got my check, so y'all get your check out. But anyway, you just can't do it better. Kathy was in education, so she knows how meaningful something like this is. So, and I told Debbie I wouldn't do so, but that means that I'm at the end of my speech.
Two quick points. Terry didn't bring this up, but we beat Jonesboro in '68 over there, 19-15. He had 26 tackles against Jonesboro. We called him Bergie after Bill Bergie, who was an All-American over there. He wouldn't bring that up. And for Eddie Jones, you made a C- on your report card. Now, my son did real well here. He was salutatory, and he missed being a valedictorian by, well, he made 1B his whole life. We were talking about our report card. Some of you have heard this before. I told him we were looking at my report card one time, and I had all C's on 1 weeks, all C's. And he said, golly, what'd your dad do? And I said, he bought me a car. Regretfully, I'm the smartest Pennington there ever was. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's just one thing that makes Newport the center of the universe. It's the grandest place. Sue and I moved around a lot. We're in our 12th house in 3 states. We know a lot about other places, and they're not Newport. Everybody be careful going home. Like Terry said, write a check or get back in charge or in touch with the foundation if you didn't bring a check or whatever. Support this. It's important, and in another year we'll have some more inductees. God bless you all. Go Greyhounds!